This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello, you're listening to Animal Party on Pet Life Radio. It's me, Deb Wolfe, and we've been answering some listener questions. You can send in an email or a text or a voice clip to deb@petliferadio.com, and we will answer your questions on air and play them, usually for an expert. So I want to know, is it okay, Dr. Coren? Dr. Coren's our guest. He's a professor of psychology, and he writes for Psychology Today, and he's had many, many best-selling books, including The Intelligence of Dogs. And he's one of my favorite guests. We used to travel when I did the Bad Dog Tour. He'd have the booth next to me with one of his books, and we'd watch each other's animals on occasion. So we've had a long friendship, but now he's a regular guest on this show. And I want to ask him, when people write in and they say their cat's retarded or their dog's OCD or their dog's been put on meds for OCD, I hear these terms that I feel are psychological terms and terms that maybe young people want to have as labels for themselves. But is it really true to label pets with these names?
Well, if you want the science of this sort of thing, dogs are similar enough psychologically to humans so that for things like depression, some forms of paranoia, some forms of OCD, and that sort of thing, that dogs are actually being used as research models. And in fact, the best aging research, which we have, looking at precursors to dementia and that sort of thing, is work which is being done on aging beagles. So yes, it is certainly the case that researchers out over there are looking for the similarities between the psychological states of dogs and the states in people. The real surge forward in terms of this came from a wonderful guy by the name of Nicholas Dodman, and he's from Tufts University. And Nick studied strange behavior in dogs, if you will, things which looked like they were OCD or things which looked like they were, some sort of strange form of phobia. And one of the things which he found was that the dogs responded to exactly the same pharmaceutical drugs that humans did. So you can think of the fact that there is humans respond to Prozac when they are, have anxieties and that sort of thing. And treating dogs with something like Prozac has been so successful that Libby actually has a beef-flavored Prozac tablet specifically for dogs. So yes, there is some sort of continuity. And in fact, some of the same treatments which we can use for people can be used for dogs. Obviously, you're not going to lay Lassie down on a comfortable couch and ask her about her mother. But,
Tell me about your ex-husband, Lassie. Was he a good man? Did he father the children well? Yeah, it's not going to go over.
No. But
so talk therapy is probably out. But, okay, so we're going to go to break, but I do have a question here. Before we go to break, we'll leave you thinking about this in the audience. Like, where do you draw that line between a dog bred to do something like a Border Collie, a Blue Heeler, an Australian Shepherd, something like organized sheep, something, that requires very particular, meticulous attention to detail and activity? Is that dog OCD or is it just well-bred? Okay, we're going to come back and talk to Dr. Stan Coren about that, because I have seen Border Collies back in the 80s and 90s mostly, where the people were drugging them so they could be couch potatoes. That's how it felt to me. Okay, so stay tuned. We'll be back on Animal Party, Pet Life Radio.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms. And our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Hello, we're back on Animal Party Pet Life Radio. And I'm sure there are reasons and some cases where dogs need these meds. But do you think there's sometimes they're just not exercised enough or given enough to do?
Well, earlier you mentioned the fact that in the 80s and 90s, people were being driven to distraction by their Border Collies. And the bottom line there is that there were behavioral problems, but the behavioral problems had to do with the living conditions of these dogs. I mean, a Border Collie needs a job. If it doesn't have a job, then it's going to figure out some way to occupy itself. The thing with the Border Collies is if they don't have a job, then they will do things to occupy themselves. So, I heard stories of Border Collies stripping the wallpaper off of the kitchen. I mean, they were just looking for something to do in the hours which you were out of the apartment.
There was this one that used to organize all the shoes, and he would put it was like a ta-da thing. He would arrange all the shoes, the street shoes and the dress-up shoes, and he'd come into the room and wait for you to say ta-da, and then he'd go back and he'd rearrange them. Okay, all the lady shoes, all the men's shoes, come back in, ta-da, and then he'd rearrange them again. All the brown shoes and the white shoe. And it was like, okay, this dog needs some sheep, really.
Well, I mean, part of the major problems which people have sort of fitting a dog into their life is that they don't look at what the particular dog was bred to do and what its activity level is. And they end up choosing a dog which is either too active or not active enough.
I have a solution for that. Like if you really, really love a particular breed and when you were younger it suited you, you used to run all the time and your Border Collie or your Aussie Shep or Ridgeback or whatever it was, your Dalmatian was perfect for you. But now you're 60 and you like leisurely walks. Just adopt an older one. And a 6-year-old is going to be perfect of one of those breeds for you now. But don't get yourself a puppy or a 1-year-old hyperactive, athletic, sporting dog if you're not hyperactive, athletic, and sporting yourself, right?
Right. And the same thing is if you don't want a dog who will rush up to everybody who they see and say, "Oh, you're my long lost brother."
Hello, new friend. We haven't met yet, but we're going to love each other.
That's right. So you don't get a retriever, you don't get a spaniel, then, get yourself a terrier or something. So it's really important that you pick a dog which sort of fits your lifestyle. I mean, if you're out of the house all the time, then, you can get yourself a bulldog. It'll take them 6 or 7 hours to recognize that you're out of the house. And then when you get there, they're going to say, "Oh, look, you come back," and that sort of thing. So, I mean,
have you ever met a bulldog with separation anxiety? Because I have not.
No, you don't, because
they just don't count them time at all. They're like, "Okay, I'll have a nap. Everything's good."
So, that's part of the trick. I mean, and some of the things which dogs do and do fairly naturally is wired into them. I mean, let's be honest, retrievers retrieve. Okay. So, I had a flat-coated retriever, and when my grandchildren would come over, all of their plush toys would disappear. And the reason was that Odin would collect them all and store them in the footwell of my desk. And he's a retriever. I mean, that's what retrievers do. So, and if you don't want a dog which is going to chase every glint of light which flickers across the floor when the sun filters through the leaves of the tree outside, then you don't get a terrier, because that's what terriers do. I mean, they chase anything which moves.
But they can be really delightful and learn so many tricks and be really sort of clever in the house. So people like them. People like terriers.
And I had a Cairn Terrier, which I absolutely loved. But, I eventually wrote a book about him. And the subject of the book is actually the 14-year war which my wife had with that dog.
Well, if you have a fence and there's like a laneway where people walk by, you can't have a terrier. Right. You just can't. I mean, it's too much barking. Okay, we're going to go to break and come back with Dr. Stan Coren on Animal Party Pet Life Radio. Stay tuned.
We wear fur, and we're damn proud of it.
What?
And our four legs.
And our tail.
And we go to the bathroom outside.
Well, we may not be too proud of that. Sniff around, then mark your spot right here. Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets.
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Hello, we're back on Animal Party Pet Life Radio, and I want to ask you, because you mentioned black-coated retriever, and I know we're going to be watching that bridge in the news for the next year, 2 years, 5 years. I don't even know how long it's going to take them to rebuild that bridge near Chesapeake Bay. So I think it's a good time, because occasionally we just talk about a breed on the show. Chesapeake Bay retrievers. Now, I've encountered them quite a bit, because they're not as easy to deal with as labs, in my experience. They tend to have some training issues. So do you want to give a rundown of what to expect if you were to get these brown, beautiful, looks like labs with curly hair, but...
Okay, little bit of history. All retrievers tend to be sucky-faced because we bred them to be very much attuned to human beings. And that's really important. You know, a lot of the use which they get in hunting is they have to sit in a blind, quietly while you wait until the ducks fly over, and then you knock them down and the retriever works. The Chesapeake Bay retriever was originally bred to have really fine cold water resistance. That curly coat comes with a lot of lanolin under it, and that tends
it's sort
to
of thick and sort of wavy and a little bit wiry to the touch.
That's right. And if you sort of scrunch your fingers through the coat, you'll find that they get a wee bit oily, and that's because of the underlying extra layer of lanolin. Now, these dogs were used to go out into areas like the Chesapeake Bay and retrieve ducks. And so they needed that cold water resistance. But the people who were out over there hunting ducks, a lot of them were commercial hunters. So they would bring the ducks in and throw them, which they knocked down, and throw them in the back of the truck. And the big problem is that people would come by and steal the ducks. And so they bred
I see. Yeah.
They bred into the Chesapeake Bay retriever that sort of guarding instinct. So they are the most aggressive and pushy of the retrievers. Now, when I say aggressive, it's certainly, we're not talking about Rottweiler aggressive. We're talking about a dog which is...
Or Dogo Argentino or Cane Corso. We're not talking Gladiator. We're just talking not a mush bucket lab.
That's right. And so they can be a bit pushy and dominant, but they've been bred that way specifically. So that's why they're a lot more of a handful, because we bred into them that sort of bit of hard-headedness, and we did a good job.
Is it also true that the color of a lab makes a difference? Like chocolates tend to be a little higher strung. I found they're a little more high energy, the chocolates, but I don't know if that's just my personal experience or the type of people who adopt them. But they don't, the black labs, yellow labs, chocolate labs, is there a difference depending on color?
Yeah, there are a lot of differences. One of the things is their size. Black labs tend, for the most part, to be closer to what the original standard of a lab was.
Short, stocky, that kind of thing.
22 inches at the shoulder. They were meant to be pocket retrievers.
Oh.
And the yellows tend to be the largest. I mean,
they're tall, yeah.
You can find them at 26 inches at the shoulder, which is, it's, as far as I'm concerned, that's no longer a lab standard, but I mean, they're labs. The chocolates tend to be a little bit more excitable and a little bit less sucky faced, which means, for me, you're taking out some of the characters of a lab. The yellows are more standoffish than the blacks, but that's not by much. There's still dogs which will, lick a woman's makeup off, given the first chance it gets.
Clean up a stroller after the kid's been removed.
Exactly.
Or not, while the kid's still there.
Yeah, well, labs are noted for sort of cleaning up all the deer poop on a trail, among other things.
Yeah. Okay. So, it is allergy time. We kind of touched on that. If you, if you have allergies, you might have a hypoallergenic dog, but it won't make any difference if it runs through a forest full of pollen and then comes in the house. So you got to keep them groomed short and brush them often and bathe them and all that if you want to stop the allergies from coming into the house. I just thought I'd add that little warning. Are you doing all that with your pets, Dr. Coren?
Well, we give the house a weekly, absolutely thorough vacuuming. And my Toller, my Nova Scotia dovetail retriever, is a working therapy dog. So he has 2 or 3 therapy sessions to do each week. And so he gets brushed out before every single therapy dog session. So that, should be keeping things down. But 3 or 4 blocks away from me are a row of cherry blossoms. And
oh, those are the worst. They don't even have fruit. I hate those trees.
Well, they're not trainable. So, the pollen comes into the house.
Okay. Well, they say, and I've read about this before, but Jim Davies he's a professor at Carleton University. He says 21 days for a human to replace a bad habit. And I've been meaning to ask you about this because it seems to me like that's way too short. Like even for me, even a simple bad habit, like skipping breakfast, 21 days, I could easily go back to skipping breakfast. Never mind smoking cigarettes or biting your nails or picking at your skin or some of the things people do. And then I'm thinking of animals, right? Animals have habits. A lot of my training is replacing a dog's bad habit with his bad habit is jump on you when you come home from work. His new habit is bring you a toy and sit, right? How long does it take before he'll do that automatically? I think without you telling him, I think he'll go back to his old behavior if you don't tell him every time, hey, get your toy for at least a few days, if it's 100%. But if you make a mistake or anybody else rewards him for the old behavior, I think 21 days isn't enough, right?
Oh, anybody who gives an arbitrary number like that is plucking cherries off of a tree which doesn't produce them.
Yeah.
It's the trick is, it's like.
Would you like to borrow my chainsaw? Because I am happy to have less cherry trees. I'll come over.
Anyway, people are always asking me, how much time do you spend training your dogs? You must spend a huge amount of time because your dogs are well behaved. And the answer is I don't spend any time training my dogs.
Right. It's just part of your routines, right?
Exactly. And that's the flip side of it.
It's every moment is a training moment because they're not allowed to be rude. They have to be what you want them to be all the time.
That's right. So for example, next to the front door on a little shelf, there's a bowl of dog treats. And my dogs are trained to, sit and wait until somebody is invited into the house before they greet them. And they are rewarded for that every single time. I mean, and we're talking about my Toller, for example, is close to 10 years of age and he still gets rewarded. So 21 days, I don't know, 21 years.
So old dogs, we mentioned it before that it might be harder to teach an old dog like that fearful Border Collie to overcome her fear, whereas a young dog can kind of expand its view of what it can trust. But old dogs do learn new tricks. Like just your example right there. If I was staying over at somebody's house and their dogs were horrible at the door, I would have them trained to sit for treats at the door in a day, probably, because they'd be lining up where the treats are. They're not stupid. They're opportunists, right?
No, exactly. I mean, I'll give you an example. In our dog club, we had a gal whose daughter had a Cairn Terrier. And her daughter went off to college and Dree was left to take care of the dog. It turns out the dog had not been trained for anything. I mean, it had been housebroken and it knew how to sit. But other than that, Folly just, knew nothing. So at 8 years of age, she brought the dog in to the club for training and she trained the dog, took a year. She brought the dog in for, CKC trials and managed to put a companion dog degree on the dog.
Nice.
Just before she turned 9. So yes, you can train an older dog if you're consistent. And if you make training something which the dogs really want to do. The trick here is that the dog has to enjoy the training. It's not that you're pulling him out and putting the training collar and that sort of thing because for an hour you're going to abuse them.
Lots of reward and play and happy and stop and start and stop and start. But I'm just thinking, that's a dog who didn't know how to learn. If you have a dog that already knows how to learn, like I rehomed a 3.5-year-old standard poodle that I worked with first, and so in her new home, they didn't like to speak English. They preferred to speak German, which she learned in one day. All the commands, right? Like she was ready to learn. So you can rehome a foster dog or an older dog and get them trained up. You don't have to think, well, I can't train it. No, of course they can learn to be in your home, right? They can learn new rules, new habits.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'm 81 years of age, and I like to feel that I'm still learning.
Me too. All right, everybody. Well, I guess we'll end the show on that note. Oh, no, one more thing. Let me ask you, because you touched on it. What's the difference between a Nova Scotia duck toller and the other retrievers? And why toller as opposed to retriever? What's going on there?
Well, he's a duck tolling retriever. A toller comes from tolling the bell, as in, to call the parishioners in for church services. Okay. What the tollers are bred to do is they are bred to run up and down around the shore, twirling around, making this god-awful screaming sound. And the ducks fly over to see what the hell is happening. And come within come within range of the hunter's guns, and they get knocked down. And at that point, they become proper retrievers. They're supposed to be able to splash out into the water and retrieve a 5-pound duck. So that's where they get their name.
So if you take a regular duck toller that hasn't had a lot of training, that's someone's pet, and you walk it in a park, and there's a whole bunch of ducks in the pond, is it going to make that god awful sound?
Yeah, it's called the toller scream.
Yes, it is.
And, for people who are interested, just go on YouTube and use the search terms toller, T-O-L-L-E-R, scream, and you'll get to see tons of clips of these dogs doing that sort of thing.
So that's why they're not more popular, even though they're little red golden retriever type gorgeous little things. And I understand.
Exactly. And that's why some therapy dog associations don't take them as therapy dogs, because they're afraid that if you're walking down a hospital corridor and something exciting happens and the dog goes into that screaming mode, I mean, that's not good to have in a hospital. But
I'm going to go look it up as soon as we get done with the show. I can't wait. Okay. Well, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for coming again to Animal Party, Pet Life Radio, Dr. Coren. It's been great having you.
It's been good talking to you, Deb.
All right, everybody, you've had a crack at the professor. If you send me some more to Deb at PetLifeRadio.com, Deb Wolfe at PetLifeRadio.com, anything like that, it's going to get to me. And we will put it on the air. It can be a voice clip or an email, a question, a query. Why does my dog do this? Or how can I change this in my house with my pets? What can I do? Just ask me. And if I can't answer it, I'll get an expert to answer it. All right. Thank you, Dr. Coren, and thank you, Pet Life Radio. From us and from me, Deb Wolfe, be good to your animals.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.